and welcome to Your Broken Galaxy. I am Broken, and this is the third part in the exciting saga of What If Luke Was Fat. So, 3PO, R2, Chewie, and Leia are all taken as slaves by Jabba, thanks to the ridiculous plan to get Han free, just like in the movie. But then, out of the shadows, emerges Luke Skywalker. He walks right up to Jabba, and Jabba says, "Dad?" And Luke says, "What?" Never mind, Jabba says. "I thought you looked like my dad because you're about the same size as him." Son of a hut, Luke screams as he pulls a blaster to himself and goes to shoot Jabba. Jabba, however, hits the little trap door and Luke falls through. Unfortunately, upon hitting the ground, his leg broke because of his significant weight. So, being unable to fight the mighty Rancor McAllister after he had eaten the faithful Gamorrean Jubnuk, Luke decides to try another plan to escape, and it fails and he gets eaten. Man, 2 videos in a row with that fake out ending. Maybe I'm losing my touch. Okay, Luke doesn't get eaten. Instead, he exercises the age-old Jedi power of beast friendship and convinces McAllister to just lay down and have a nap. Jabba gets upset, so they end up flying to the Dune Sea. Once there, 3PO says, "If you'd like to beg for your lives, go ahead." And Luke steps out onto the plank above the Sarlacc pit and says, "Jabba, this is your last chance. Free us or whoa!" You see, he said the whoa because of Luke's incredible weight causing the plank to break beneath his feet and falling into the Sarlacc pit. No, I'm sorry. That's the last time I'll do that, at least in this video. The plank held. He said, "Free us or die," and Luke hobbles to the edge of the plank, but there is obviously no way he can do his little jump fake-out thing and a springboard off into a front flip, so instead he just turns around and uses the Force to push the guy with the vibro axe off the skiff, and then the next guy. Then R2 shoots up Luke's lightsaber and he slashes people. It's great. He ends up jumping over to Jabba's sail barge, like in the movie, but he can't climb up the thing because of his broken leg, so he lets go and falls to the sand below. Meanwhile, Leia has excellently taken Jabba out with a Kusari Jime, and Lando, Han, and Chewie are shooting the rest of the guards. Unlike in the movie, Luke's incredibly rash decision to blow up Jabba's sail barge and kill everyone on board, probably including a large number of slaves, Luke being taken out of the picture saves a bunch of people's lives. So Luke ends up deciding to go back to the fleet for a couple days so he can get his leg fixed with magical space medicine. Then he flies to Dagobah, only to find that because he spent a few days healing in the Bactavat on the fleet, that the old master had passed on to puppet heaven. Though he finds a note which says, "Vader your father is, Leia your sister, confront the Emperor and a Jedi you'll be. Later." So, Luke flies back to the fleet just before they take off. They make it to the forest moon of Endor. Han accidentally alerts the scout trooper, so Leia jumps onto a speeder bike, and Luke jumps on behind her, which of course slows the thing down horribly, so Luke gets off, and Leia ends up taking out the scouts on her own. However, this means she never meets the Ewoks. The next day, Luke is like, "I'm gonna turn myself into Vader," and Han is like, "Good luck with that." So he goes, and Vader is like, "Sup, kid?" And Luke is like, "Hey, Dad." And Vader says, "So, you've accepted I'm your dad?" And Luke says, "Well, the paternity test isn't back, but I know Anakin's my father, and I think you used to be him." And Vader's like, yeah, whatever, kid." So they fly up to the Death Star and start to have a little fat. A little chat. Meanwhile, the rebels down on the forest moon are making their plans without the help of the Ewoks, and so they end up getting captured. So the Emperor is like, "I sent a full legion, your friends are screwed, and the fleet is coming, but guess what? That means they're screwed, and you're not going to turn your father to the light side of the Force because he's screwed. Everything's coming up, Palpatine." And Luke says, "Do you have anything to snack on while we have this conversation?" And Vader just face palms. "Luke, son of a gun, stop thinking about food. Your rebellion is doomed. Your friends will die. The galaxy will remain in darkness forever, and all you can think about is freaking cake. Your mother would be so ashamed," Vader says. "Maybe she would," Luke says, "but what about my sister?" "Your sister?" Vader asks. "Yes, my sister, who's beautiful and thin and—" "You're kinda talking pretty weird about your sister there, kid," Palpatine says. "Princess Leia, she's on the forest moon right now, and your Emperor is going to kill her." So Vader looks over at the Emperor and says, "Maybe we should turn her to the dark side instead." The Emperor pauses for a second, and then he pushes a little button on his chair and a voice comes over the intercom and says, "Yes, Emperor Palpatine?" "Hi, Shirley. Can you call down to Commander Boggs on the Forest Moon and tell him not to kill or harm any female prisoners? We're going to need them for questioning." "Of course, Your Eminence. Is there anything else?" "Yes, send in a piece of cake for our guest. He's really whining about it." So Vader looks back at his son and says, "You're a disappointment, son. And it's time that I ended that disappointment." And he draws his lightsaber. And Palpatine says, well, okay then, I guess we'll just get right to it. And Luke pulls his saber to himself and says, "There's still good in you." And Vader says, "There's still ice cream in you." And then he lunges at Luke. However, Luke has spent the last few years since Bespin not working on his lightsaber skills. Oh no, that would have been too much work. Instead, he worked on accepting his fatness and not caring about what anyone else has to say to him. As Vader lunged forward, Luke stood his ground, unfazed by the killer in front of him. Vader raises his blade up above his head and starts to bring it down, but then Luke threw his own blade away, and Vader said, What is this?" And Luke says, "I won't fight you, Father." So Vader looks back at Palpatine, who kind of shrugs and says, "I don't know, man. This has never happened before. Stab him or something." And Vader looks back at Luke, who said, "Search your feelings, Father, and let go of your hate." Vader looks back at the Emperor, then back at Luke, then back at the Emperor, then turns to face Palpatine. Luke force pulls his saber back to himself and says, "Oh yeah, boy," igniting it and lining up alongside his father to face down the Emperor. Suddenly, the door opens and a royal guard walks in holding a piece of cake. What? Come on, man. Carrot cake? You really are evil, Emperor, Luke says. The Emperor laughs. "Guard, get in here and execute Lord Vader." The guard steps forward and is like, "Well, okay." And then Vader just force throws him down the little chasm thing because, this is Darth Vader. "You should have just let them have their one job of protecting you. As soon as you started making them deliver coffee, their abilities went right out the window," Vader tells the Emperor. "Yeah, I know," Palp says. So, now the fight is on. Palpatine starts firing his lightning at Luke, while Vader jumps towards him. Palps does a surprisingly nimble grandpa flip, still maintaining a constant stream of electricity towards Luke, who is taking it all on his blade, and Vader slashes at his old master. The Emperor stops his lightning and pulls his saber in time to block a downward strike from Vader. He spins like a street breakdancer atop a discarded piece of cardboard underneath Vader's blade, sweeping his leg and sending him crashing to the floor. Meanwhile, Luke has jumped in, and just as Palpatine's blade is about to pierce Vader's, Luke parries it. Sheev sneers at Skywalker, while Vader force pushes him back and stands back up. "We'll take him together," Luke says. "You go in slowly on the left." And Vader says, "I'm taking him now," and steps up. Palpatine finally zaps him, and the lightning throws him to the throne. Vader sits on it, unconscious for a moment, and Luke says, "Do you mind if we just take a little breather?" Palpatine rolls his eyes and says, "I can't believe that your dad thought you would make a good addition to the dark side. You can barely move." Just then, Palpatine hears a beep coming from the chair. He looks over to see Vader has pushed a button. "Shirley, this is Vader." "Oh, hi, Darth." Not now, Shirley. "Can you tell Commander Boggs to deactivate the shield generator?" "Anything for you, tall Darth and handsome." "Thanks, babe. I'll call you later," Vader says as he slashes the panel with the lightsaber. "What the heck, man? You're seeing my secretary?" Palpatine asks. We're getting kind of serious." So the rebels realize that the shield is down, and Wedge and Lando go flying inside the Death Star to destroy it. Vader stands back up and walks over next to Luke. "Okay," Vader says. "We'll take him together." "That's right, Dad," Luke says. They both jump in, and Palpatine is half dancing, half dodging around the father-son pair. Every few seconds, he takes a shot with lightning or a strike with his saber, but Luke and Vader have one another's backs. Finally, Palpatine is able to slice off Luke's hand with a saber and hit Vader with a lightning shock to his suit. Palpatine walks over to Luke and says, "You will be turned to the dark side. I will break you through pain and suffering." And he starts shooting Luke. Meanwhile, Vader is losing the ability to breathe. After a moment, Palp stops and looks down at Skywalker and says, "And now, young Skywalker, you will diet." And Luke says, "Father, please!" And Vader says, "No!" and stands up. He grabs Palpatine and tosses him down the chasm. Luke walks over to his dad, and Vader says, Yeah, I'm not gonna make it. So Luke says, would you like me to remove your helmet so you can look on me with your own eyes at least once? And Vader says, no, I don't think so. Tell your sister you were right, and then ask her to help hold you accountable to a meal plan. So Luke runs as fast as his hefty legs can carry him and makes it onto the ship just before the Death Star blows up. He meets up with the Rebel fleet and sadly passes away 3 years later due to a heart attack brought on by obesity. So that was my video for today. I'm so grateful that you decided to watch it. I am thinking about releasing all 3 of these like back to back as just one video, a much longer video than what I'm usually going to be making. Let me know what you guys think of that idea. As always, if you have ideas for videos, go ahead and put them in the comments below. There's absolutely no guarantee I'm going to take your ideas. Some of them I immediately hear and think, wow, that's brilliant, and I have like the image started in my head on what I can do with it, and some of them it's like, man, I have no idea what this person is thinking, and some of them it's like, that's a really cool idea, but it's just too complex for me. But I love hearing your ideas. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and all that garbage.